Hi and welcome to this video. So I just have some green tea here and I have some water because need to stay hydrated, and also I have some dark chocolate with some mint and cacao nibs. So that is the situation, and I'm seated on my yoga mat actually. And yeah, so I wanted to make a follow-up video to the previous video that I posted, which was from Poland and from Katowice. Katowice. I'm trying to get the pronunciation right, but I think I am not actually having the right pronunciation. I will make one more try. Katowice. Okay, I don't know. However, since I made that video, it has passed a couple of days, and I am now, post-assessment now. So the assessment did not go through. I did not pass through the assessment, and I obviously, since the video was posted, have traveled back to Sweden. So I arrived to Sweden on Saturday, and it's today Monday. It's Monday afternoon, so quite a few things has unfolded along the way. But yeah, so as I explained in the previous video, I had there was quite a lot of things happening on the journey that I did to Katowice, and I traveled to Warsaw through Warszawa, and I had a lot of situation along the way with delayed flight, cancelled flight, rough landings, thunderstorms, and a lot of things. And so I wanted to do this video and give some sort of, give some tips, or like just sharing my experience basically, because I think tips would be the wrong thing to put in this video, but just like for anyone who is actually interested in doing this type of assessment, and for you, because I know that a lot of people are doing these assessment videos and stuff, they feel like they have passed, and it might were their first try, or it might were their second try, or it might even were their 8th trial, because there is actually people who have gone to this assessment and they have done it 8 times. There might be someone who has done it more, but I heard that the recruiter, she mentioned someone had done it 8 times, and on the 8th time she passed, he or she or something passed it basically. So it's not the end of the world, but I was quite devastated afterward, I will be honest with you. The day, like after the failed assessment, or being the one being this not selected, I was really sad, because I had so many other things that I was thinking about and just building up, and I just felt like I was really sad afterward. However, I was in Katowice in Poland, so I felt like I had a perfect place to, to sort of cry out on these things. So I'm actually wearing, I don't think the lighting in this room is that great, because it's like quite light outside, but I had to wear some curtains because they're doing some construction outside. So I have on the, the lighting in here, but I'm wearing this one, which is from L'Oréal Paris, and it's a lip paint in matte, and the color is red actually. Basically it's called red actually, and this one is sort of the type of color that you would wear if you go on this type of assessment. So depending on the airline of course, but for this stuff that I went for, I needed to wear something like this. So some of the things that I did, and some stuff that I heard that you should sort of do, but still you have to keep it, you have to keep everything balanced. We were not that many people, and this was one of the reasons I think I was so sad afterwards, because obviously if it were 500 people on this assessment, I would have felt like, okay, well, I was one of the 400 like 95 people who got excluded, but because we were not that many, I would say we were like 40 people maybe, and there was actually quite a few guys. Like, I was surprised, and I think a lot of people were surprised that there were so many guys. And we even had one from Uzbekistan, there was people from London, there was people from Abu Dhabi, there were people from Sweden like myself, there were people from Poland, there were people from, you know, different parts of the world basically coming to Katowice for this. And there was one, she was a little bit older, she was from Poland, but she was a biomedical doctor. And there was one guy who was from London, he was originally from Poland, and he had a bachelor degree in some economic stuff, like some very specialized economics, I would say. And there was probably some other ones with like degrees, like academic type of degrees. And also, of course, there were people who did not have experience of that sort, who were just like, you know, maybe had some other type of job and so forth. And just, we had some, you know, I think there was maybe some people were a little bit younger, some people were a little bit older. So, but most of the people I would say were, you know, between 21 to maybe 35. And then there was, as I said, there were one person who was like above that maybe, but most people were like a little bit younger. And that's probably what they're also looking for, because if you're getting recruited, if you're getting selected, they will give you a training, and they also want you to be able to cope with the work, because it's quite physical, challenging. I mean, you have the air compression in the air when you are up, and it's like even the work itself is demanding that you are kind of standing a lot and that you're walking, and you have to maybe lift something, and you have to, there's a lot of like physical stuff that you have to be able to cope with. And as well, you have very different hours of work. So maybe you're working in the night shift one time, next shift might be in the daytime, so you have to be able to cope, and your body needs to be able to cope with the differences of like working schedule when you are awake and all these things. So of course you need to have a good physical condition. There was some girls who were a little bit shorter, maybe closer to 160, like, which is the for this specific airline, it's like the lowest that they would go for. There's also airlines I have seen, because I should sort of jump through like where I am also at today after this assessment, because after I felt on the assessment, this was the first time I went on the assessment, and I will be honest with you, there was maybe 5 people who were doing this their first time. Most people had actually done these assessments more than one time. So they had like experience of the assessment itself, and like the different activities and, you know, stuff that was supposed to take place during the assessment, because they had done it in the past. But yeah, I have actually now, because I had to refigure what I would go, what should I do now, like since this failed, and I felt like I'm still quite committed that I really want this. And specifically this company I feel very strongly for, you know. So therefore I am gonna make another try, but I will not be able to say how, when and where I'm gonna go for this, because it's just gonna happen, and I will update you once it is closer to the date, or I will share with the after that experience how things went and so forth. But I can't give you any details on it now, because obviously it's a little bit of process, and you know, anyway. I also applied to another airline, because during this assessment that I went to, as I said, there was actually some people who already were working in this profession. So there was one guy who was based in London for an airline, and he had been travel quite a lot, a couple of years. There was one girl from from Abu Dhabi. They have an airline base there as well. And I was actually doing my one of the group activities together with a girl from Abu Dhabi. And she was not originally from Abu Dhabi, she was, I think, from the UK, but I mean, she was working for this airline in Abu Dhabi. And she definitely had this whole, you know, behavior, and like you could see, you know, she was not, and this is something I felt like was quite important to take in during this day. You know, if you go on your first assessment, one of the things you should do, because you have to know that this may not be the last, you know, if you don't know how the recruiter is going to assess and all these things. But I felt like this lady, who actually was already working in this profession and she had been in it for a while, I mean, you could see on her that she was in this profession, you know. First and foremost, she had a very like tight suited formal business attire. Most people were wearing like the black suit and wearing like a pencil skirt and white shirt, and she had like a watch on her wrist as well. And it was just, she was very like, she wasn't taking up a lot of space, she was kind of taking up a little space, but she was still kind of interacting in this whole thing, you know. And I think that is the thing you have to go for. You can interact in the whole setting throughout the entire assessment, but you should not take up space in the assessment itself. Just keep it very like back, but still when there is like the time, when you feel there is the right time, you can sort of step forward and you can give a little bit of yourself, add something. Also, there was some people who were late to the assessment, and I know one of the girls, I think she passed, but she was late, you know, so I don't know how that sort of, you know, went about. But I think that also at the end of the day, they're going to, like, this is not really pronounced maybe on the criteria and stuff, because you have the healthy body mass index and you have the height, like how tall you should be, and then they have, of course, the part of the uniform is your appearance and your makeup and your nails and your skin. Everything is like, when I mean skin, you cannot have like super dry skin or something. You need to be impeccable, you know. You need to be like really, of course, approachable, but you need to be like really, your uniform is going to be impeccable, and that is going to include like your skin and everything. So at the end of the day, they can, as I read some other girl who is actually in this profession, I read her blog because I wanted to get some insider tips, you know, afterwards. And she said that, you know, at the end of the day, they can afford to actually sort of select people based on their appearance, you know. So if you have very like nicely, you know, features in your face and stuff, they might choose that rather than looking at your, even if you would lack some form of you know, something else, they would maybe choose you based on that, just because that's, at the end of the day, you are a face for the company, you know, in one way. I mean, there's so many duties and like work tasks that actually are placed up in this profession, and I don't think you really realize it before you actually start reading about it. And I mean, I was doing quite a lot of research before I went on this assessment because I really wanted to be prepared, and you realize that there are so many different things and levels and stuff that you actually need to fulfill, and you need to have everything, you know. So, but it's kind of a good thing, because I feel like because they are demanding so much, it's kind of also putting you in aligned with all of those criteria, and you need to fulfill them on a daily basis, you know. Like your makeup need to be on point on a daily basis, your physical capabilities need to be on point, your sort of posture need to be on point, your behavior need to be impeccable, and your sort of, you know, the way that you're moving your body need to be impeccable, and everything you do has to be, you know, taking up that form of appearance and like, you know, presentation, and represents confrontational type of thing. And that's something, you know, for some people they will maybe feel, okay, that's not for me. For my part, I feel like I enjoy having that form of demand on myself, you know, that okay, I need to be in a good physical shape because it is part of the uniform, you know. And I sort of enjoy the whole aspect that you need to wear like perfect nails, perfect skin, you need to wear everything, you know, because it just keeps you, you know, on that high track of that form of, you know, sort of, it keeps you on that point, you know. So I'm just gonna have some tea because now I've been rambling for like almost 60 minutes. So, so yeah. So as I said, after I had the assessment and it failed, I was very devastated, and I took like the whole rest of the day. I was out and did like a running because I wanted, of course, to see Katowice. I never been there, and it was a very interesting place. I did some running in a park and I went into the city center. I mean, I did as much as I felt like I, you know, wanted to do. And then I was just like, first of all, I needed to sleep, and also I was quite devastated. The day after, I woke up and I felt slightly better. So I did like a plan. I set out like my plan for what am I doing now. And what I found was that there are a couple of other airlines companies, you know, that I potentially could find something in. And what you need to look for when, because I have now today, I had access to like computer because my laptop crashed. This was another story. My laptop crashed right after I finished the spring term, so I didn't have a laptop now for a couple of days, which was nice in a way, you know, because I haven't been, you know, having to look on the screen and stuff. But at the same time, I wasn't able to do all the applications that I sort of found yesterday. But I did them today, so today I have done a number of different like applications to other airlines. And one thing I want to say, because some people are like, and this is actually something that the recruiter said, and I felt like when she was saying this, she was looking at me, you know, and I was like, I didn't want to look at her because I felt like what she's saying means that I have sort of not passed, you know, because she was saying this, that okay, if this is really what you want to do and you're really sure, then don't view this as the last thing. Like, try again, you know, come back, like, you know, after a while and do this again, or you know, that there is still the possibility that this is the career path. Or let's not say career, because career is kind of a concept that is hard to put into place in the today's sort of environment, but let's just say that this might be something you will come back to later on. And then after that I was not, you know, proceeding. So I was like, oh my god, she probably meant that to me, like that, because she was having like almost, she was looking at me when she said it, and I was like looking away because I just didn't want to feel like that would be the end for me. So so yeah, I think that, and actually they do not give you direct feedback, you know, after an assessment like this, so you don't really know what went wrong and so forth. But as I said, there is quite high competition, and it's just like, I think at the end of the day it's quite a lot. And I will say this because I'm not you know, I'm not a recruiter, you know, but I think that it is a lot about the appearance, you know. Come to the assessment for one of these, or like to the interview, and have impeccable makeup, impeccable, you know. I cannot stress this enough. Like, they want to see that you look flawless, okay? You have to look flawless, because imagine you after 14 hours on a flight, you know, traveling, working on the flight, having lack of sleep, being jet lagged, or whatever, you know, being in the dry air, you still have to be the one smiling and looking impeccable. So therefore, if you cannot show up and look impeccable to this type of event, they're going to view that as something that is like, okay, can we really trust that this person is going to be the best representative face for a company? Obviously, I still am 1000% committed to try again. And as I said, I did look over all airlines in the entire world. So I'm gonna give you a little bit information about what I found for anyone who is interested to go into this type of profession, and maybe what you can sort of, you know, look into and some stuff. But I will do a part 2. So I will end here and I will make a part 2.